How do I form an LLC in Texas? All right, let's do the 30-second breakdown. We've got Hallie is a proud Texan, and he wants to own ABC Tile LLC in the state of Texas. What is the bare minimum that he needs to get started? Well, the bare minimum is that he goes to the Secretary of State's website for the state of Texas, and he fills out the form and submits payment, and he gets an LLC filing from the state of Texas. That is the bare minimum. But in order to pay his taxes, he needs an EIN from the IRS, for the IRS's website, and he needs an operating agreement, the legal documents that proves that he is the owner of the business. And that is the 30-second breakdown of what you need for an LLC in the state of Texas. Now, if you want to go into a little bit more detail and do a deeper dive with me, stick around, and we'll discuss every element of this. Now, disclaimer, I am not your attorney. I am not your CPA. I'm just providing common knowledge that you can look up anywhere that's public on various websites all over the place. Now, what is the cost of an LLC? Well, it is $300 with the Secretary of State for the Secretary of State of the state of Texas. It takes generally 2 days. Now, they can do it faster and they can do it slower. Most of the time it's 2 days, but it can also be 1 day or sometimes same day. Now, do you even really need an LLC? We have a video for that, kind of a Small Business 101 playlist, so check that out as well if you want kind of to back up and see, what is a company and what are the different types of entities and why might this one be better than that one. So check that out if you feel like you need it. Now, do you own abctile.com and you want to be ABC Tile LLC in the state of Texas? Just because you own abctile.com does not mean that you can get ABC Tile LLC in the state of Texas. They are two totally different systems. Now, someone can own ABC Tile LLC in the state of Texas, and someone else can own ABC Tile LLC in the state of New York, someone else in the state of California. That's because it is a state-specific filing. So at betterlegal.com, we've got a name search where you can actually go and click on state of Texas, and it'll take you right directly to where you need to go to do a name search and make sure that you can get the name that you want. Otherwise, it's going to take 2 days, and you might get rejected, and then we've got to resubmit and try that again. So, what is a registered agent? A registered agent is, nobody wants to get sued. Unfortunately, it happens. And a registered agent is the state's way of being able to send a sheriff or a constable out to an in-state address to hand you a lawsuit. It's also going to be where the comptroller sends your mail, state compliance mail. But it is a public address that is on the Secretary of State's website and on the comptroller's website. That lists, who the registered agent is and the address. And so if you don't want your personal home address listed publicly, or you don't want a sheriff coming into your place of business or your home to deliver in person a lawsuit to you, you can hire a third-party service to do that. They're plentiful. They're all over the place. BetterLegal is also one. State compliance. Every year on May 15th, the Secretary of State requires that you check in with them. You do this through a Texas franchise tax. Most people don't have to pay that tax. It's a poorly named term, as is most government naming schemes, which is why we exist in the first place, is because a lot of this stuff is just poorly named and it's kind of hard to navigate. But it's called the Texas franchise tax, and most of the time you just file a no tax due. But that's something you do through the comptroller's website. If you don't want to do it, we can do it for you. Or you can, learn how to do that. But every year it's between January 1st and May 15th of every year. May 15th is the due date. Now, this is actually not something that you need to do with the filing, but it's just something to think about. Let's say that you are a baker and they're in your township or in your county, there's a tax or a permit that you need to use flour in your bread. That is something you're going to want to need to know about. And so it's best to check with the local Chamber of Commerce about, what you might need that's local and specific to your industry. Also, we provide a service that will do that research for you and provide you a packet with all that information and instructions on how to fill that out. So that is how to handle this state LLC filing itself. Now, moving on to the second part of this, the EIN. You do not need to be an employer to have an employer identification number. So if you are the only sole manager, sole member of the LLC, you still need an EIN. It's just, again, a poorly named term. This can be known as an FEIN, federal employer identification number, or just a federal tax ID. And this is, you need this just to pay your taxes. A lot of people are kind of understanding of the idea that a business is like a person in the United States. And so that person needs to pay their taxes, and this is the tax ID. This is almost like their social security number for the business. The bank account that you are opening your business checking account with is going to want to know that you have an EIN so you can pay your taxes. Now, as you start doing business as a new LLC, if you have clients that are going to pay you more than $600 over the course of the year, the IRS is going to require that they file a 1099 explaining to the IRS that your client has paid you more than $600. $600 is kind of the sweet spot where if you pay someone over $600, you need to file a 1099 with the IRS. And for them to be able to file their 1099, they're going to request a W-9 from you. And the IRS W-9 form has a little field that is social security number. And so if you don't want your social security number out to all of your clients that you're doing business with, you can opt into not putting your social security number in there and putting your EIN instead. Also, you cannot carry this over. If you've been a sole proprietor for a couple of years and you just are starting to be an LLC now, you can't use the EIN that you were using previously and flip it over into your LLC. I'm not going to explain why. It's just a no-no. You can't do it. It's a brand new LLC. You need a brand new EIN. Now, the legal documents of an LLC are called an operating agreement or a company agreement. And it defines who the managers and who the members of the business are. The managers are the operators of the business, and the members are the owners of the business. We have a video that explains that, and so watch that if you kind of want to know more. But really, the legal documents prove the ownership of the business. Who are the members of the organization? The states don't really have this information. The states don't know who owns the business. That's what these documents provide. And so let's say that you're working with a partner over a period of years and you sell the business for $1 million. How do you know who owns the business? The Secretary of State doesn't know. So these documents, the operating agreement, are the proof of who owns this business. Also, if you get into dispute with your partner, maybe you're a single member LLC right now, a single member, single owner LLC right now. But then you get investors or you get a partner and you expand the business over a period of years. And then you get into a fight with your business partner or your investors. How do you navigate that? Who gets to vote on things? How does this get resolved? That's what these documents, and that's why these documents are like 30, 40, 50 pages long, is because it covers kind of all the basic gotchas that might happen. Now, I've seen a lot of attorneys, or I've talked to attorneys that charge $1,500 to $3,500 to do this, trifecta, the state filing, the EIN, the operating agreement. And then they just provide a rinky-dink single-page operating agreement to the single-member LLC owner. The problem with that is that it doesn't allow for expansion of the business. If a month or 2 months passes and Sally comes in and wants to become part owner of the business and I sell her ownership of that business, I'm going to need a whole new operating agreement if I didn't get a proper one to begin with. BetterLegal's is expandable, and so we've got that covered. But also, it's something that's really overlooked by a lot of people. It's super, super important. And so when you get the operating agreement, please make sure to sign it and have everybody else in the business sign it and put it somewhere safe, because this is going to determine so many things. And it's something that a lot of people don't think they need or don't care about or don't put time into until it's too late. And then they're like, oh, shoot, I wish I had done that. Now, if you don't, now this is a separate step. A lot of people talk about S corporations and I want to be an S corp. How does that work? This is separate from everything I just talked about. If you don't, so you can be an LLC and be an S corp. That's actually something that a lot of people don't realize. If you don't do anything, once you've set up your LLC and it's time to pay your taxes, the IRS doesn't actually have a classification for LLCs. So what they do is they just kind of default to one of these. And so if you're a single member LLC, they just say, okay, well, you're a sole proprietor, just pay taxes as if you're a sole proprietor. And if it's 2 or more people, they say, okay, just pay your taxes as if you're a partnership. There's nothing wrong with that, but you might get tax benefits from one of these two, but you don't have to decide right now. So if you want to file a tax election to be an S corp or a C corp or anything like that, You can file your S Corp tax election a couple of months after you form the LLC, or the first couple of months of every single new year. So you can actually be a sole proprietor, be taxed as a sole proprietor. You have an LLC, but you're taxed as a sole proprietor for a couple of years, and then your CPA or your accountant says, hey, you're actually going to get a lot more tax benefits if you're an S Corp, and so you can do that on the next year within the first couple of months. And so, like I said, you default to this if you do nothing, but you can become one of these through a tax election a couple of months after you file, or a couple of months, the first couple of months of every year. Now, other things that you need to think about once you get started. Banking. Need to make sure that you are not running your business through your personal checking account. You want a separate business checking account. Get paid through your clients pay the business checking account, and then you pay yourself. We have a video on that explains in more depth. A website. Again, this is a separate step. How are you going to take credit cards? How are you going to handle ACH payments or anything like that? How are you going to classify your incoming revenue streams and your expenses? So at the end of the year, you can pay your taxes properly. These are things to think about. Are you a business that has a car and you're driving around for business in your car? Or are you up on a ladder? You might need insurance. It's just something you might want to check. Contracts. This is actually something that we provide, most common ones we provide. How do you engage in business relationships with people? What are the terms? What are the hourly rate or the per job rate? What happens in a dispute? These are things to think about, and we've got recommendations below, but also if you go with BetterLegal to file your LLC, you'll get access to all this as well. And that is the short of how to file an LLC in the state of Texas. If you found this video helpful, please like or subscribe. We've got a discount below if you check that out. If you want to know more or this didn't explain something specific, please comment below and we'll reply. Is there more stuff that you want to know about? Comment below. We are going to be making lots more of these videos, so please subscribe and check this out. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a great day.